Okay, so we are going to continue with the training sessions, so training in mathematics, in VASP, sorry. So the next step is to compute the equation of the states using different types of potentials. What potentials? What we call PVE, we call it PVE and PV sol. You might be wonder what potential did we use in the previous sections? So you can find out this, please. So you go to this section 3, part 3, and open up the podcast file. You see? So we are using this kind of potential. So this potential is what we call this LDA potential. Okay? So this is the authors of this potential, right? So we call this LDA. Okay? So now we are going to compute this with this potential PV. Okay. So as I mentioned, this PV we are going to the functionals. Sorry, the functional we are going to use here is the functionals is um, either we're going to use the PV or we're going to use the PV sol. But the pseudo potential we use in the calculations, we were using, we're going to use only PV. So it means that the core electrons and the nuclei are described by this PV pseudo-potential. That will be used for both cases. For the calculation using exchange correlation that is PV, and for the exchange correlation that is PV solved. Even though this kind of PV solved, we use the same potential PV, so to be precise, it is not a full self-consistent, but from experience, it looks like there is no problem on the results. Okay, so we're going to start. Please go to the directory 4. So I'm going to the directory 4. Sorry, I'm going to this. Okay, so go to the directory 4. This. Okay. And what we're going to do is to do ls, right? So I'm going to do this. Sorry. Oh, no, this is not. I'm going to open here, file 4. Look this. In here, we have this file, right? To run the calculation, I need an incar file, a key points, a postcard, and a podcast file. So here I have the postcard, I have the key points, and I have some incar file. But where is the podcast file? The podcast file is this. So that's the reason if you open this, well, let's first of all copy this. This to podcast. The first step, please copy this. So you have to have a podcast file, named podcast file, right? Look, open the podcast file, and you're going to see what this is. You see, this is the PV. You see, here says PV or DAWPV. So the pseudo potential we're going to use, it is a PV. Okay. So remember, the pseudo potential describes the core electrons and the nuclei. Okay, it replaces this. Okay, so what we're going to run is, if you read here, we're going to run separately the Excel, right? The PV to get the PV, the cell PV dot. And after we're going to fit with the equation of the state and the equation of the state and tool. So please, let's run this, okay? So we're going to run this script. Look this. We're going to run this script. Okay. In my case, please, only in my case, you don't have to do this. I'm going to put like this. Course. Okay. Mhm. Okay, but you can. Okay. So please, anyways, it is recorded, right? So look this. This is the script we are going to run. We're going to run exactly this script is very similar to the previous one that we ran. The cell.sh. But the only difference that in this case we're going to use exchange correction. So let's see this incar st. Let's see incar st. You see the incar st is this. So there is no we don't mention here anything about PV or whatever. So if there is no mention of this, the program will use the exchange correlation that is mentioned in podcast file. Okay? What is exchange correlation? Here it is. So this P is the contraction for PV in these calculations. Okay? So let's run it, please. So we have this, we have everything ready to run. Okay, so let me see. Just in case, always open your postcard file with ACE. If you're able to open your postcard file with ACE, it means the calculation will be fine. You will be able to, no problems. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going, okay, I'm going to pause this for a moment. Okay, so I'm recording right now. So the after you run this, you're going to have this result. Okay, this is the result you have. So now we have to compute the equation of state from this. How to do this, please? You have to compute like this. So first of all, we enter this, and after we start to do the balance. To do this, we don't have to repeat again this, right? So we have to just copy this from this previous section. So the part that corresponds to the equation of the state from here till here, please. Till here. Okay, you copy this, paste it, and now we have this. Okay, I'm going to clean up now this because we don't have to do everything again. So I'm going to clean up this. This is iPhone TV. Now, cell like this. We have to do this. So we don't need this anymore because we already know that we're already playing with this and paste this, this. So the model, I need the model. Yes, the parameters, I need parameters. So we do only a fit, it's parameters, and this will be my equation state. Okay. Now we plot this. There is the plot. Right. The goodness of the fit, the optimal volume, the optimal cell parameter, if you like, will be like this. And the bulk modulus, by definition, is this. And in international units, this. What is V0 is this. We have this. But if you don't want to do everything up, you can do the other way. The other way is just using this equation here with this. So we solve this set of equations, and we have this. The solution, so there is only one solution, will be this, and this will be the optimal part. Okay? Very simple, right? I'm going to stop here for a moment. So for the PV solve, what we have to do is to have this. We're going to run this. Look this. Okay? Look what happened here. In this case, okay, only for my case, please. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put chorus. My case, please. But look this. In this case, in the Incar file, we're going to include this. You see, the GGA equal to PS. It means it's telling you to grasp to use the PV PV solve functional for the valence electrons, only for the valence electrons. You may ask, but why we cannot do this for the also for the core electrons? Because that was already computed for only for PV. But in this program, we use always this. We do in this way, right? So it's not full self consistent, but is good enough anyways. Okay, and we are going to run again this. You see, exactly the same. So let's run it. So please once. So the only thing you have to do is only run, right? So I'm going to run the previous one, this one. Just in case, please remove the waveguard. Just in case. So I'm going to do just remove the waveguard, nothing else. And now you're ready to run. Cell is okay. Let's run it. Okay, I'm going to pause this till finish. So this is the result from this calculation. The only difference between this calculation and the previous calculation is that we in here the valence electrons were described with PV is all functional. In the previous only PV, but in both cases, this one and the previous one, The core electrons and the nuclei were described using PV. So this is a pseudo potential was generated with PV. Yeah, so in this case, the calculation is not fully self-consistent, but the results, I mean, by experience is working fine, so we don't have to have this pseudo potential with PV. So okay, so this is the case. So now what we're going to do, please repeat what I'm going to do, please. I'm going to copy the whole section, subsection here. I'm going to paste it here and just put PV. So and the only thing you have to change here is this PV sol, right? What is the name of this PV sol? Not that. See? The rest is exactly the same. You don't have to change anything else. So I do here, shift enter, and there it is. So we have this. Okay? There it is. Okay. So we have this, and now we can even we can now get this summary of the results, right? So we can get the summary of the results, and let's see what is going. Okay. First of all, we can also compute this what's the name? These errors. So let's include the errors. Sorry, have to include. I don't know why. Here. I'm going to include the errors here, just in case. I'm going to include the errors here. Okay, what's this? Yes. Okay. And the other one. You can include the errors here if you like. If you want to check what is this results on this. Right, so I'm going to repeat this here very quickly. So, okay, so you can see here, we can get the errors of you see PVE versus PV-SOL. So PV-SOL it predicts better the lattice parameter, for instance. Okay, so right now what we have to do is to find this data, right? So already in the previous calculation, the first calculation from last week, we were using this LDA function, and that was the value of this. This is for PV and this is for PV sol, and this is we can compile this. Now, this distance, how to get this distance, by the way, between silicons. How to get this? I will explain this. How to get this distance is here. I'm going to go back to the part 3. And I'm going to do what's the postcard file. Yes. You see, this is the part 3. I'm going to check the postcard file. Postcard file of part 3 was the optimal one, right? Look this postcard. Where is the postcard? Here it is. See? So this is the optimal lattice parameter for the previous case that we didn't mention the functional, but right now we know that this is the case for LDA, for the valence electrons. So how to get the distance between the silicon atoms is very simple. So you just open ASE here. And look this. This is the structure, the optimal structure for using the previous case was LDA. So that we did it last week, right? Look, the distance between this and this is this. You select this, click, and you press Control the other one. So the answer is this, you see? 2.356 angstroms. The distance between the silicon atoms. Okay? That is the way to get the distance. Now let's see how to get the distance, the optimal between the silicon atoms using PV, for instance. So I'm going to part 4. Okay. And I'm going to copy this postcard. Well, I'm going to put postcard like this. PV. Okay. I'm going to call PV. So I'm going to do it. The postcard PV, this. I'm going to copy the lattice parameter and those a postcard PV. I'm going to put here the optimal value we found of using PV. What is the optimal value using PV? Is here. What is this? Is here. See, that is it, only PV. And I'm going to do it for PV also. So I'm going to here, PV salt, here. This is for PV salt. Now let's see. What is the optimal distance between in the for the PV post PV? Look this. So I open the PV case and the optimal distance, the distance between the two silicon atoms is this value, 2.368. Okay. So now let's check if you like. I can close this. If you want to see both cases, you can do this. For instance, you can put the and here. See? So I can run in the background and it's not closed on this. And I open the PV Sol too. Sorry. See? I have this. This is PV and this is PV Sol. I'm going to check the distance between this. Look this. This will be to point this and here and this. So you see, this is the case of PV and this is the distance between silicon atoms PV Sol. Okay? This is, and with that, you can complete this table, right? Also, you can get the bulk modulus, as you can see here, from the values that we get here, and the bulk modulus pressure derivative. So you can compare with this data here, the experimental values are taken from Kittel, so you can compare this, okay? So there it is. Okay, I'm going to pause here.